Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and their good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we now take the roll call. I call upon the clerk at the table to call out the names of members, and members, please kindly respond in accordance with the standing orders. Yes, clerk at table.
Abaka Samuel Erickson. Abanga Abdullahi. Abdullahi Jacob Idris. Abdul Latif Dan. Abdul Salam Adams. Ablakwa Samuel Okujeto. Abuaji George Kwame. Abuaji Kwejo Nyampong. Abudulai Bazirwa. Achampon Brian. Achampon Charles. Achampon Richard. Akwa Kusofa Karin Edem. Akwa Alexander Kwesi. Adam Hamza. Adam Mohammed Amin. Adams Kofi Idi. Adite Disafori. Adoya Frimpong. Ejei Kwesi Boateng. Adom Frederick Obin. Adumako Mensah Lex. Adumako Mensah Collins. Adongo Isaac. Edu Johnson Kweku. Edu Chumia Osei. Afenyo Markin Alexander Kwamina. Afol Eric. Efrifa Mensah Kwesi Owusu. Efriye Nana Yiu. Efriye Kweku. Agalga James. Agbede Charles. Agoja Kwame Gobbins. Ejepon Ken Ohene. Ejari Alexander. Ejekumi Manuel Kwejo. Ajima Menu Kweku. Ajima Rollins Zaneto. Ejeni Mbwatin Kweku. Ahinkwa Kingsley Carlos. Ahinkwa Frederick Yao. Ahi Samson. Ahiafo Bernard. Eidu William Oreku. Akando Kwabna Minta. Akamvai Lydia Lamisi. Achian Samuel Lata. Alauzuga Albert Akuka. Al Hassan Abdallah Idi. Al-Hassan Bashir F. Husseini, Al-Hassan Lydia Seyram, Al-Hassan Saibu Suini, Aliu Mahama Umar Farouk, Alote Angelo Foriwa, Amankwa Nicholas, Amankwa Menu Kofi, Amel John Peter, Amial Tremi Kwesi, Amwa Osei-Bonsu, Amwa Stephen, Amwaku Andre Siama, Amwaku Atakwesi, Ampem Thomas Nyako, Ampofu Chumesi Kwame, Amprechum Sapon Kweku, Antre Emmanuel Eje, Enim Ernest Yao, Enim Moses, Anodompe Frank, Entry Eugene Boache, Animedu Entry Kwame, Apa Clement Abbas, Apia J. Patricia, Apia Kubi Andy Kwame, Ama Prince Hamidu, Asamoah Vincent Opon, Asante Kwejo, Asante Boatin Kweku, Asensu Boache Francis, Esiama Isaac Kwame, Esiama Kwabna Mankwa, Esiama Eje Nanama Dokua, Asafa Vincent Eko, Atamils Samuel, Aveji James Kluje, Avoka Kletu Sapo, Ewa Ignatius Bafo, Awuni Theresa Ladi, Ayamba Ladi Ayi, Ayariga Mahama, Ayiku Benjamin Nate, Ayine Dominica Kritinga, Befi Michael Ochre, Baba Benson Tongo, Baligi Bride Bashi Yoville, Bandim Azuma Bednego, Bano Patrick, Battles Sheila, Bawa Edward Abambri, Vedra Emmanuel Kwesi, Bettino Joseph, Blankson Alex, Boache Henry Yadom, Boache Yadom Patrick, Boama Patrick Yao, Boatin Kwesi Dako, Boatin Amapoma, Boatin Joseph Apia, Boatin Kwabna, Bobie Evans Opoku, Boche Daniel, Brahma Muhammad Bawa, Bua Emmanuel Amakofi, Bukari Joseph Nipe, Chinyami Rishaku, Tragia Samson Tongumbo, Chiwete Andrew Dari, Pensola Beku, Kujo Comfort Doyo, Kujo Joseph, Kujo Robert Wisdom, Dafia Mako Roxanne Nelson Eche Kwame, Dalu Thomas Adam, Dapila Kletu Seidu, Daku Daniel Ohene, Daku Mensa Pabnotre, Dauda Collins, Dawunya Bukari, Derry Ambrose, Jonopwa Alex Tete, Donko Elvis Morris, Donko Pabna, Duka George Mreku, Eya Nana, Fojo John Intim, Force and Castle Ato Ba, Frimpong Joseph, Gakwe Kwame Jujoli, George Samuel Nate, Gansa Al-Hassan Kobna, Gate Joe, Gidisu Wisdom, Gomado Yao, Gomashi Ablajifa, Jemfi Manuel Akwesi, John Alexander, John Mensah Richard, Hamon Kobna Tahir, Hansen Norte Yves, Haruna Seidu, Hayford Ophelia Mensah, Hotoje Alexander Roosevelt, Ibrahim Ahmed, Ibrahim Mutala Muhammad, Ibrahim Azurira Muhammad, Idrisu Habib, Idrisu Haruna, Isifu Seidu, Jabba John Benham, Jaja Yusuf Isaka, Jalula Stephen Pamben, Joshua Godfred Seidu, Jinapo John Abdullahi, Jinapo Samuel Abdullahi, Kini Jeffrey, Kisi Dixon Adomakum, Kuneidu Akwesi, Kumsen Mavis Howard, Kosa Martin Kwekwe J. Mensan, Kodo Benjamin Komla, Kum Ebenezer Kojo, Kuma Joseph Kwame, Kuyon Solomon, Kwachia Kapita Yao, Kwatin Kwekwa Jiman, Kofi Festus Sewa, J. Mensa Bonsu Osei, Treme Nelson, Labi Oscar Ufori, Lati Agnes Namomo, Liwal Oscar, Mahama Asiesieni, Mahama Nasir Ture, Menu Adabo Francis, Mafu Emmanuel, Mafu Kofia Henkwa, Mbomba Thomas, Mensa Bettina Nefua Crosby, Mensa Francisca Oting, Mensa Isaac Ej, Mensa Joseph Kwesi, Mensa Tina Giftina Ayele, Mensa Andrew Kofi Japa, Morrison Cynthia Mamle, Muntaka Muhammad Mubarak, Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba, Nanja Sanja, Napari Dominic, Nawani Mark Kurt, Newman Dakwa, Nitiwu Dominic Benga Majuna, Inkansa Bwedu Mavis, Nokwe Kofi Ako, Nogbe Ernest Henry, Notukotwe Peter Kwesi, Intim Adelaide, Intim Augustine Collins, Intosu Helen Ajua, Nyakote Albert Tete, Nyako Bismarck Tete, Nyako Kingsley, Nyako Kwamina Minta, Obintechi George Kwabena, Obim Boatin Alfred, Oklulindo Hiniwa Kwele, Odampton Isaac Ashia, Ofoso Jare Elizabeth, Okofu Data Williams, Ochre Jekum Kofi, Opoku Davis Ansang, Opoku Eric, Opoku Isaac Yao, Opon Kroma Kojo, Osei John Frimpong, Osei Kennedy Nyako, Osei Asari Abna, Osei Wusu Joseph, Oti John Kwabna Blaise, Otute Christian Kolite, Owusubio Benito, Owuswe Kuful Esla, Peito Desmond de Graft, Pelpo Abdul Rashid Hassan, Prempe Frida Kosia, Prempe Matthew Opoku, Korte Henry, Kwesi James Jechi, Ramadan Mohammed Adamu, Ricky Tegan George Kweku, Safo Sarah Ajua, Sandari Sebastian Meniso, Sani Suleiman Adamu, Sani John Kobna Abam Abua, Soya Queen Samami Pokua, Sefe Richard Kwame, Setra Benjamin Yabua, Sosu Francis Xavier Kojo, Sowa Dela Ajua, Sowa Rita Na Odole, Suparu Adams Mohammed, Suleiman Adama, Suleiman Al-Hassan Tampuli, Suleimana Yusuf, Suma Anthony Bikara, Tahidu Abdul Razak, Teria Augustine, Tailabi Ebenezer Klite, Tete Joycelyn, Tete Sylvester, Tete Agotri Gisela, Tete Joseph Akwete, Toffee Dockers, Tobu Peter Lanchini, Tufari Mohammed Hadi, Chum Ampofu Gifty, Chum Berima Paula Preku, Yusuf Mustafa, Vanderpoy Alfred Oko, Vanderpoy Edwin Ilante, Bondi David, Wakao Daniel Insala, Reku Brobe Bright, Woyome Kobna Mensa, Zidin Bid and Watazumo.
Where are the leaders?
The leaders are seated here.
Yes, honorable members, we don't have any message from His Excellency the President, and I don't have formal communication today. I want, with your kind indulgence, to vary the order of business for today and to recognize the presence of some important dignitaries in the House. We have with us today the presence of the members of the Ghana Boundary Commission. We may only mention the names of the leadership of the Commission, and then I'll draw your attention to the presence of some of the other members of the Commission in the House today. We have the commission members being led by the director himself in the person of Colonel Henry Kweku Badasu. They are at the Distinguished Visitors Gallery, and he's there in person. And so members will kindly acknowledge their presence. We also have the Commissioner General in the person of Lieutenant Colonel Evelyn Asamoah. She is also present here. We have the Deputy Director, Lieutenant Colonel Evans Komeja. We have the Maritime Boundary Officer in the person of Commander Lucas Okulu. We have the Director of Survey and Delimitation in the person of Mr. Herbert Jabba. Is he around? Yes, he is up there. And then also the Director Policy Planning and Program, Ms. Sarah Ekuban. Those dressed in the same attire as Ms. Sarah Ekuban and Mr. Herbert Jabba are the other members of the Ghana Boundary Commission with us today. Please, you may come stand together so that you can be acknowledged by the House. Yes, honorable members, on your behalf, I want to welcome the members and to extend your gratitude to them and to wish them a very fruitful visit and deliberations as they go about their duties in the House and outside the presence of the House. You may now resume your seats. We are grateful you are present here. The House had just commenced business just yesterday. And as you all know, members are still caught up in their constituencies, trying to work with the Electoral Commission to ensure a smooth voter transfer and proxy voting processes. So the presence today of many of the members could be explained away in this way, but maybe other things might have taken them away. We already have quorum to conduct business. That's why we are going on. Honorable members, we also have the presence of some members from the Central University. The Central University is located at Ningo Pram Pram, and we have as many as 44 members from the university, led by Miss Ruby Melody Agbola. Where's Melody? Yes, I hope that your voice is melodious in accordance with your name. And she is the head of the department. You are most welcome. Please resume your seats. We also have students from the St. Brother Andrew Senior High School, located in Ewutu Senya East constituency. They are being led by the teacher, Mr. Derek Apia. You can see the number here is quite a huge number, 160. 160 will have a number of buses to convey them here. I want to, on behalf of the House, thank the teacher, Derek Apia, and the school for sponsoring as many as 160 to come and experience what happens in the House. It's a pleasure to have you. I want to encourage and urge you to continue to come. Don't just make it a 9-day wonder. I want you to be better than this in future. So please keep on coming. You are welcome and kindly resume your seats. We also have pupils from Chiapiesi Glory Academy. They come all the way from the Kede constituency, led by a teacher by name Biaju Amankwa Isaac. I can't identify the person. Yes, leading from behind in white. There are as many as 93, that's the number I have here, all the way from Kede. Please, you are warmly welcome, and we encourage you to continue to come. You may resume your seats. This is the visitors we have today, and honorable members will do all to cooperate with them to ensure that they have a very memorable experience here before they go back to their various places. Honorable members, we will now move on to item 5 on the order paper. Item 5 on the order paper, correction of votes and proceedings and official reports. Honorable members, I'll start with the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 11th June 2024. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13. Honorable members, in the absence, Honorable Haruna Idrisu.
Mr. Speaker, ordinarily it can pass because the verbatim report and the Hansard will capture it. But page 9, opening remarks by the Speaker, one would have thought that your comments on the constitutional bodies and the roles you expect them to play would have been highlighted in the summary in page. Just for emphasis, I know the Hansard will capture it, but listening to you yesterday, you were specific on some engagement with those constitutional bodies and matters arising thereof, and some intentions expressed by you. But as I said, maybe they want to leave it to Hansard. But ordinarily, I would have thought that this should have the attention of the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 11 June 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, Honorable Arno Idrisu is right. This is a very important matter that I raised yesterday, which should have found space in the summary on the votes and proceedings. I did indicate clearly, and it's important for the information of the general public, not only the House, that some steps are being taken to ensure that the process to the election is properly detailed out to ensure smooth, free, fair, transparent, and credible elections, and that we will not allow any interruptions, we will not entertain violence or obstructions in the process. So it's an important statement that should have been captured, and I direct that it be done in the corrected version of the votes and proceedings. So with this, honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the first sitting dated Tuesday, 11 June 2024 are adopted as a true record of proceedings. I have 3 copies of the official reports, specifically of 14th February 2024, that's a Wednesday, then Thursday, 15th February 2024, and Friday, 16th February 2024. Honorable members, any corrections? In the absence of any corrections, the official reports of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of 14 February 2024, 15 February 2024, and 16 February 2024, respectively, are taken and hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings of those 3 days. We will now move on to item 6, statements. Item 6, statements. We have 2 statements. One in the name of the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapo, and then the other, which is a commemorative statement, will also be made. In terms of seniority, will call on the minister to make his statement first. Minister Lands and Natural Resources is going to make a statement on the occasion of the 2024 African Border Day today. We are happy that the Boundary Commission is here and to listen to the concerns members may raise as remarks to the statement. Please, Minister, you may do so now.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for your consideration. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to make this important statement. in commemoration of the 14th African Border Day. Mr. Speaker, June 7th every year has been set aside to commemorate African borders, to create awareness and celebrate the existence and significance of our continent's borders. Since its inception in 2010, the day has been used to highlight the essence of the African Union Border Programme to peace, regional and continental integration, as well as progress made in border management. Following the adoption of the African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, popularly called, quote, the Niamey Convention, end quote, in June 2014, the commemoration of the African Border Day has also been utilized to bring to the fore the significance of the Convention as a crucial framework for integrated border governance and cross-border cooperation. Mr. Speaker, since the partitioning of our continent, beginning with the infamous Berlin Conference of 1884, Africa has been left with porous borders that have been the source of several governance-related conflicts in individual states and across regions. As we work towards building and promoting unity, peace, security, and trade across the African continent, we are reminded of the vital role of international boundaries in shaping our collective identity and fostering regional integration and cooperation. Mr. Speaker, as this august House is very much aware, the African Union has declared the year 2024 as the Year of Education under the theme, quote, Educate and Scale Africa for the 21st Century, end quote. In line with this theme, this year's African Border Day was celebrated under the theme, quote, Educate an African fit for the 21st century, building resilient education systems for increased access to inclusive, lifelong, quality and relevant learning in Africa, end quote. We are therefore entreated to recognize the crucial significance of educating our citizens, particularly those living along border communities, about the importance of land and maritime boundaries and their role as stakeholders for safeguarding our international boundaries. The Ghana Boundary Commission has over the years worked tirelessly to reaffirm and safeguard our international boundaries to ensure that Ghana's territorial sovereignty is protected at all times. The Commission efforts to promote peaceful coexistence with our neighbors through regular sensitization and cross-border activities with neighboring countries. The work of the Commission in upholding international law to resolve boundary disputes through peaceful cooperation has been recognized across the continent, with several countries engaging the Commission to learn from them. To achieve greater impact, it is essential that we engage and empower border communities, including traditional authorities, border security committees, municipal and district assemblies in border areas, and other relevant stakeholders, to create an awareness of the significance of boundaries and the contribution of stakeholders in border governance. Border communities often bear the brunt of border-related challenges, including cross-border conflicts, illegal migration, and transnational organized crime. Thus, by involving the relevant stakeholders in the decision-making processes and providing them with the necessary knowledge and resources, we can foster a sense of ownership and responsibility towards safeguarding our boundaries. In addition to safeguarding our boundaries, education also serves as a powerful tool in promoting intercultural dialogue, tolerance, and mutual understanding that counter the narratives of hate and divisive attitudes that fuel extremist ideologies. By empowering our youth to become active agents of change within their communities, we can create a formidable defense against the forces of violence and extremism, which often target vulnerable populations, including youth in border communities. Through education, Mr. Speaker, we can instill in our youth a sense of pride in their heritage and a deep understanding of the importance of respecting territorial boundaries. Again, by promoting cross-border exchanges, economic cooperation, and joint development projects, we can overcome the barriers that divide us and create stronger, more resilient border communities. Mr. Speaker, as we mark the 14th African Border Day, we salute the hard work and dedication of all who continue to work tirelessly towards safe and secure boundaries in Africa. Our special appreciation goes to the Ghana Boundary Commission under the leadership of its coordinator, Major General Emmanuel W. Kotia, and all their partners for their invaluable contributions towards safeguarding our boundaries and promoting regional stability. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the profound words of our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, that, and I quote, Africa is one continent, one people, and one nation, end quote, must continue to inspire us and lead us to recommit ourselves to the ideals of unity, solidarity, and cooperation that underpin the African Union, while recognizing that our borders are not barriers to be feared, but bridges to be crossed in pursuit of a shared future of peace, prosperity, and progress for all the African peoples. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, we want to hear your comments on this. Yes, Deputy Minority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I will allow members to contribute, but just to advise the Minister that in the future when he's here to give this very important statement, it's important that members are giving copies so that they can make very good contributions. I mean, that would be very helpful. So be minded in the coming months when you are here to make a statement. Having said that, members can contribute. And I'll conclude.
Yes, Minister, you've given copies.
Mr.
Yes.
Speaker, I note the important point made by my colleague. But Speaker, yesterday I think we made it a point to distribute copies ahead of today's sitting.
Yes,
I'm a bit surprised that.
Majority Chief Whip. Yes.
Minister.
Speaker, not to hold breath for the minister, but fact is, he gave a copy to me yesterday. And normally what I do, or what has been the practice, it is after, Speaker, you have admitted the statement that I make copies for members. So I don't think it's intentional on his part to have denied members. I think if there should be any blame, I should rather take the blame. So I was waiting on the Speaker's admissions, after which I'll make copies for members. That is what it is. But you are right.
Honorable members, I'll direct that copies be made available to you, but that will not prevent comments being made. Since we listened to him, those that have some ideas about this area could comment, and then later on you get the copy of the statement. I acknowledge the difficulty we are meeting because it was actually scheduled for tomorrow. Yes, that was the information to me. But I think because of the presence of the members of the commission, they decided to take advantage and to make it today. So I understand the communication challenges. Please, I know many members are very knowledgeable in this subject matter, so we have some time for you to make your comments. Honorable Emmanuel Bejra.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, let me commend the Minister for Lands and Forestry for this commemorative statement. And let me also commend members of the Ghana Boundary Commission who are here today on this commemorative day, which is the 14th African Border Day. Mr. Speaker, wars and conflicts in our sub-region stem from the fact that our boundaries are not well demarcated. Mr. Speaker, I come from a boundary constituency. My constituency borders between Togo and Ghana, and therefore I have roots that leads to Togo. Mr. Speaker, most often than not, these boundaries are only identified when it comes to an election. I have a town that is called Hanyigbatoji on the other side of Togo. When you get to Hanyigbatoji, it is only our post, that's the boundary post, that divides the town into two. Hanyigbatoji, Ghana Toji, and a Togo Toji. You will not even identify or know where the Togo border or Togo constituency or Togo township is, or where Ghana township is, except the fact that you have the border post being identified there. One time I decided that, well, for this town not to be taken over by the Togolese, I decided to build a small school a shed for students in that community so that they can learn English, because the half of the town belongs to Ghana and half of it belongs to Togo. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, that incurred the wrath of those who are from the Ghana side. They got angry because they think that I am taking over the land of the Achims. We call them Kota Achim and Kota Ashanti people. They thought I was taking over Hanibatoji land completely and give it to the Togolese. To the extent that when it was the 2016 election, my opponent from our side went there and fomented trouble for me. And so, if we are not very careful, especially when it comes to the issues of election, if you are not very careful, it creates problem for us. Hanibatoji, for instance, you cannot say this people belongs to Ghana or the other people belongs to Togo, because we have one chief, and the chief presides over both Togo and Ghana. And so, where will you identify the Togolese and Ghanaians? And so, our border demarcation should be done with this at the back of our minds, that if you have people at the borderline, there's one particular town in Agotim Eziopi where the main road between going to the Akachino, the main road is the one that divides Ghana from Togo. But even that, our electrical poles, Ghanaian electrical poles, are sited in Togo land. When you get to the town, you can buy food items with Ghana cedis or Togo Sifa. You will not even know the difference between us. These are imaginary borders are creating problems for us in our sub-region. Mr. Speaker, therefore I want to throw it to the Minister and the Boundary Commission that they should have a human face when it comes to issues about demarcation of our borderline. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, last registration, there's a town in my constituency called Holuta. It's a border town. Mr. Speaker, the immigration people were harassing my people in that community. They see them as Togolese, whilst they are Ghanaians living and residing on the land of Ghana. And so, if we are not careful, and it gets to election period, and we start to demarcate unimaginable border communities, then we have problems with ourselves, because we are all the same people. They are Ghanaians and they are Togolese, Mr. Speaker. And so, I want to commend our minister on this day as we celebrate the International African Border Day. These are imaginary borders should not create problems for us in this country. With this few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank the maker of the statement. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Dr. Afriye.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me congratulate the minister for making a statement bringing this subject to the fore, and the members of the Boundary Commission. But, Mr. Speaker, I find this, in all due respect, I do not understand the thrust of this whole enterprise. And I will buttress my submission with the conclusion that the Speaker made. Mr. Speaker, the profound words of our first President, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, that's quote, the profound words of our first President, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, that Africa is one continent, one people, and one nation, must continue to inspire us and lead us to recommit ourselves recommit ourselves to the ideas of unity, solidarity, and cooperation that underpin the African Union, whilst recognizing that our borders are not barriers to be feared, but bridges to be crossed in pursuit of shared future peace, prosperity, and progress for Africans. Mr. Speaker, it seems to me that this whole edifice has the potential to imprint in our mind permanently that we should continue to run these non-viable African economies. We cannot compete in the world if we go on this trajectory. And at the very least, we should look on these things as administrative constructions we can make for accountability in the short term or in the interim, politically, socially, and maybe accounting for our stewardship, especially among the political class. But we should not, and that's why I agree partially with the last speaker, that we should not accept this. If we accept this, so the African Union should look at this whole thing. I do not know what motivated this. I believe that maybe the rise of ethnic strifes and the idea that other countries will make claims on other countries so that there will be problems in the African political landscape. I can agree with that. But we must never lose sight of the fact that, especially for sub-Saharan Africa, we should strive to unite. Even in West Africa, if it had not been for colonialism, and we had gone on our own ethnic trajectories, we would have formed very viable states with less social strife, and then with, economic viability. But the bond of 1844 was an artificial construct. And for me, I would dare say in all humility, anything which seeks to ossify this, it makes me very, very, very jittery indeed. Mr. Speaker, before I take my seat, look, my father was a semi-illiterate farmer, but he made one important submission that I will never forget. Mr. Speaker, he dared to tell me that when I was venturing into politics, that we are political usurpers, especially in the southern Ghana. And what does he mean? So it was the chiefs who signed the bond of 1844. So when we gained independence, the independence should have been handed over to the chiefs. That's what he said. And when I think about it philosophically, of course I do not agree. Societies evolve. Those who were running monarchies, they have evolved. But we should not, based on set thinking, agree with the idea that viable states and postage stamp states should stand forever. This should be at best an interim construct which will make way for a very, very, a conscious construct, so that in the future we unite, even at the sub-regional level. I'm thinking ECOWAS, I'm thinking the Central African, community, I'm thinking about Eastern African. If we cannot do it in one fell swoop, we can do it this way, so that we accelerate our development. But with these things, and as political leaders, accepting this in its construct as it is, I'm afraid I do not agree with you. I do not want motivated them. I would dare say it in the chambers of the Ghanaian Parliament. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let's listen to Honorable Lady's voice.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statements made by the Minister for Lands. Mr. Speaker, in discussing this very important issue, I'm happy that there are security men who are in charge of border demarcation or whatever, or monitoring what happens along our borders. I want to contribute by saying that they should, as a country, we should have a second look at our demarcation, our border demarcation, because we have the situation where we have chiefs. For instance, if you go to Aflao, Togo Fiti, there are some communities in Togo that are under his jurisdiction. So if we have a chief in Ghana, if we have a chief in Ghana who oversees some communities in Togo. 3 days ago, I had a call. We have people crossing from Ghana to Togo for their farming activities, and they are being set, even their food. They open their food, the security guys over there open their food and search what they are even going to eat on their farms. If you start from bit 9 in Aflao area through to Pillar 48, Pillar 48 is in Brewaniasi area. Pillar 49 is there. Pillar 50 is there. Years ago that these pillars were put up as demarcation between Togo and Ghana. Some years ago, when I was a border patrol officer, we realized that the Togolese had moved these pillars towards Ghana because they were felling timber. They were felling timber. You get me, Mr. Speaker? I am not sure that the security have gone to these areas. At times when even at a committee meetings, when I mention some of these pillars, they are even surprised. I don't think that as a country we have even taken the trouble to go towards those areas. Chilinga, when you go to Chilinga in Kwanta South, Mr. Speaker, Chilinga is and Kwanta South in Ghana, but the currency they use is safer. It's safer. They don't use the Ghana cedi. They use safer in Chilinga. Right to Tinjase. The pillars have been moved. And we have not taken the trouble to go to check on these pillars until there's trouble. When there's trouble, when there's crisis, then we move to such areas. So if the security are here, I'm in contributing. I'm just urging them to go to Pillar 9 through to Whole Central, through to KJB, go to Brewaniasi, go to Chilinga, go to Tinjasi areas and see whether our pillars that were mounted years ago are still at where they were mounted. They should also take notice that when it is like Honorable Bejra has said, Mr. Speaker, when it is not election year, nobody bothers about who goes in and who comes in. But the moment it's election year, our people who have their farms in Togo are harassed. They cross to their farm, they are harassed. They are coming in, they are checked. If you go to Bitna, Mr. Speaker, we have the douanes or the gendarmes. At the other side in Togo, we don't have our security men are where these people are. So when people are entering, they rather charge and they use motorbikes to cross those areas to enter Ghana. You don't see our security people. But when it is an election year, that is when you see our security people, harassing people and telling Ghanaians who have their farms in Togo that they are Togolese. So in contributing to this statement, Mr. Speaker, I urge the Minister for Land Department, unfortunately, the Minister for Defense is also here, to take notice of what I am saying and act seriously by at least the ideas that I am giving them. They should act according to that. Because a time is coming. A time is coming when you think that we have maybe seen or found some gold on those mountains. And then you get there and the pillars have been shifted. You cannot claim that that area belongs to Ghana. So they should act swiftly. Mr. Speaker, on this note, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To contribute to the statement on the floor, I first want to thank the Minister for making this statement. Mr. Speaker, in my previous life, when I was working with the Survey Department, I happened to, work at this boundary commission, fixing the Ghana, Togo, and then Ivory Coast boundary. Mr. Speaker, it's a complex issue. So I commend the boundary commission for a good work they are doing. Ghana is bounded by Francophone countries. So when you go to the field, even the language barrier becomes a problem. So many a times when we go back to the field, they will have their data, we'll also have our data. We agree that there should be a buffer zone between the countries so that nobody enters these buffer zones. Mr. Speaker, we have pillars already planted by the countries. These are the pillars we agree to form the boundary. But they remove these pillars and then we get problems fixing them back. Mr. Speaker, I will plead with government of Ghana to resource the boundary commission, because they need to get training. They need to get training. Mr. Speaker, the work they are doing, apart from the adjudication, they have the survey aspect too to carry on. So they liaise with Lands Commission to get this data for the country. Now surveying is becoming very dynamic. Mr. Speaker, they cannot be going to the field every day, but they have to use satellite imageries so that they will watch the boundary of the country on the computer. And then the trouble areas they can just identify on the computer and go to the trouble spots. They can't be going through the boundary almost every day. They can't. They don't have the resources to do that. But they need the training and they need the resources so that they can help us manage our boundaries. It's not an easy job to do, considering the fact that all the neighboring countries are francophone. Sometimes you speak, they understand, but they will tell you they don't understand because they want to protect their boundary. So I will plead with the minister and then the boundary commission to up their game, but to go modern. They have to use satellite images, they have to use geographic information system, sit behind their computer, and then look at the trouble spots so that they can rush there to protect the country for us. So I want to, commend that the minister and then the commission up their game so that they can protect these boundaries for us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the contribution.
They have to go down.
Yes, Honorable Dafiamapo.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the statement ably made by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to commemorate 7th of June as African Border Day. Mr. Speaker, I want to focus on paragraph 3 of the statement, which states as follows. Following the adoption of the African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, popularly called the Niamey Convention, in June 2014, the commemoration of the African Border Day has also been utilized to bring to the fore the significance of the convention as a crucial framework for integrated border governance and cross-border cooperation. Mr. Speaker, since the partitioning of our continent, beginning with the infamous Berlin Conference of 1884, Africa has been left with porous borders that have been the source of several governance-related conflicts in individual states and across regions. As we work towards building and promoting unity, peace, security, and trade across the African continent, we are reminded of the vital role of international boundaries in shaping our collective identity and fostering regional integration and cooperation. Mr. Speaker, my observation in connection with this statement is that, for instance, in the Volta region, in Askuma, which borders Jamai constituency and my constituency in Southern, Askuma is 125 kilometers from the Ghana-Togo border. Mr. Speaker, and yet we have a huge immigration border planted at Askuma. And these officers maltreat, especially our people from our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, you get to Askuma and you are asked by an immigration officer to get down from your vehicle and walk for about 150 meters across a customs barrier to board your vehicle. You are treated as if you are crossing an international boundary, when you are actually crossing from Volta region to the eastern region. And I've raised this matter on this one. I just do not understand why we have an immigration border located within the interior or between two regions. Mr. Speaker, you get to Dabala. Dabala is located 150 kilometers from the Aflao border, and yet you have an immigration border. You get to Sogakope, which is about 145 kilometers from the Aflao border, you have an immigration border. And our people are treated when they get to these borders as if they are entering into another jurisdiction, when they are actually traveling within the interior. Mr. Speaker, the number of immigration borders dotted within the Volta region alone is unacceptable. And I think that something must be done about it. We are speaking of international boundaries. But there are zones in the Volta region that are treated like international boundaries. I have traveled from Sunani to Domahikro to Kofi Bedukro to the border. There was no except at the border at Kofi Bedukro. A distance of about 150 kilometers. But you cannot travel to the Volta region to Ho without going through about 6 immigration borders. And so when we sometimes make these statements to commemorate these days, some of us begin to question our commitment to observing the tenets of the convention. So, or the rationality of the guidelines for the implementation. So I think that the implementation of immigration borders in this country must be fair and properly formalized. Some regions appear to have been inundated with immigration barriers to unnecessarily harass and trouble our people. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, because of the Electoral Commission's limited registration matters, the problems that our people go through to even go to the region or to come out of it is frustrating. You get to the Adomi Bridge, there's an immigration barrier. You exit the Adomi Bridge, there's an immigration barrier. You get to Juapong, there's an immigration barrier. You exit Juapong, there's an immigration barrier. A distance of about 30 kilometers, Mr. Speaker. So, as much as we want to commemorate the 7th of June as an African Border Day, we need to look back home within and see how we control our borders, because embedded in the speech is about integration, it's about ensuring there's peace, it's also about good neighborliness with our people. And the ECOWAS protocol, for instance, allows members to enter neighboring countries at least 90 days to do business. But what are the processes that one will have to go through in order to ensure and realize this right? So, Speaker, I have brought these matters to the fore for the attention of the House based on the statement that has been made. And I think that some critical look you have to be had in respect of this matter. I thank you for the opportunity.
Minister for Defense.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank you for the opportunity and to thank my colleague sincerely for bringing this statement to the fore, eloquently delivering the statement. The work of the Border Commission, the work of the Minister for Lands, in conjunction with other ministers, is one of the things that this nation will have to look for resources to fund seriously. If we have a very strong border commission doing their work efficiently, you're going to have a safer country than we have now. It will make the work of the Ministry of Defense and Interior lesser as compared to what we have now, Mr. Speaker. And so I want to commend my colleague and the commission that worked directly under him so far for the very good work that they have done. If I calculate over the last 5 years the amount of work that the Border Commission has done for this country, it is enormous. I believe that maybe, Mr. Speaker, one day you may have to find time and let this House meet them in the Committee of the Whole and listen to them, what they have done so far. It's very impressive. Judging from the fact, Mr. Speaker, that these borders that we have, technically, are artificial borders in the context of the African the African tribes that we have. Some of the tribes, literally, their lands were divided into halves and into quarters from somebody sitting in Berlin who did not even know where the Ewe land ended, or the Kotokoli land ended, or the Anui land ended, or they don't know. They just divided it as the way they felt they should do it, or the Gari land, or they did not know, or Lovi land. But be it as it may, we have a country today. And the Border Commission, ever since it was revamped and started working, has done a yeoman's job. We must commend them, even with the limited resources that they have. So one of the recommendations I would say is that as a country, we must fund them, and fund them well, so that they can continue to do their work. As you travel across the country and as you move, the pillars that some of them we used to have, literally, is now that they are trying to fix some of them, were literally wiped off because of corrosion and because of famine and other things. Because the people themselves on the ground really technically were not seeing these borders as borders. They've lived there for thousands of years, and they were farming across all these places. So when you come and put a pillar, and you don't educate the people on the border as to why you put that pillar, they don't understand, and they do not know. And unfortunately for us, Mr. Speaker, because the CFA was a bit more stable over the period, people would tend to rather gravitate spending CFA than Ghana and some of these border towns. So I can appreciate the concern that the Honourable Member for Karachi said, Karachi West mentioned, which is true, that we have some of this pocket of problems in some of these areas. But Ghana is becoming a very stable country. And if Ghana is a stable country in the midst of difficult security situations in West Africa, then we must know where our borders are, and we must keep our borders secured. We do not have the resources to build a wall, or to build a fence, or even to put digitized security around the entire country as we have wished. So what do? We have to rely on the Border Commission to do what is right. And they are doing a good job for us, Mr. Speaker. It is true that a few security checks are a bit on the higher side in some parts of Volta and Oti than other areas. It's simply because we have an operation there called Operation Motherland. It's not because it is deliberate. There is an operation there called Operation Motherland to check the activities of secessionist activities, and it includes the military, it includes the police, it includes the armed forces. If this operation is scaled down or completely removed, you are not going to see these things that we are seeing there. But as long as this operation is ongoing, which it is currently, you are going to see a little bit more security forces than other parts of this country. That's the only reason why you have immigration more than you have, as you have said. You are going to have soldiers more than you have in other areas. You are going to have police more than you have in other areas. I just wanted to bring that to the fore. But let me go back to the work of the Border Commission. I think that the reports are received from them, and they do a very good job. The minister sends me reports on daily basis, on monthly basis, as to what they are doing. And they are discovering a lot of resources that are for this nation that unfortunately other people may be using. And they are helping us to recover a lot of these resources. The amount of money that they are saving from this country, whether in the Sipaga area, or whether in the dollar power area, or wherever they are working, trust me, if we were just to give them 10% of that resource, they will do much more than they are doing. That's why I said that we should find time and listen to what they are doing. And we'll realize that, look, the work they are doing within the sea with Togo, what they are doing in the Ivory Coast area, what they are doing in the western border, what they are doing especially in the northern border, because of the terrorist threat that is happening. If they were not doing some of the work that they are doing and marking out the distance and creating a road that is literally dividing us and Burkina Faso for the soldiers and the police and the immigration officers and the prison service to be able to move, we will not be as safe as we are today. So they are contributing a lot to the work that we are all doing to make this country safe. And I think that, one, I recommend the minister to push so that we can get more resources for them. That's one. I also think that we should get the more staff to be able to make sure that they can work efficiently than they are currently doing because of the very important work they are doing. And three, we should make them comfortable, because if you look at Ivory Coast, their Border Commission, and look at Ghana, their Border Commission, the caliber of people that are there, we must present ourselves as people who are who are more resourced, who are more well informed, who are more educated, and who can do the work better than what they are doing. Because they must come here to learn what we are doing. And I think that what they are doing, if we encourage them and we push them, they will do more. Especially when I saw them do the boundary dispute, I won't use the word dispute, the little dispute that we have with Togo on the sea. What they are doing there, what they have done there to make sure that they bring tension between these two nations is enormous. It's huge. And I will urge the Minister for Lands to find a way of ensuring that the relationship between the various security agencies and the Commission that as it exists continue to exist, because it is really helping us a lot. But I say that the Border Commission, their work may not just be limited to just the border. Even internally too, one of the problems that we have is we are beginning to see some few disputes as to the internal border, tribal border lines. Maybe land is becoming more valuable, resources are becoming more eminent in many places, and so tribal border lines are becoming to generate small conflicts along. Maybe they will consider to look at it and see how they can help both the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources as well as the Minister for Chieftaincy to see how we can be able to resolve some of these problems. But, Mr. Speaker, I can say for a fact that the opportunity I got to work with the Boundary Commission and the Minister for Lands over the work that they do, though, is immeasurable. And their work is hugely very important for this nation. And we should look at it from this angle and encourage them and give them the resources that they need so that they can do the work. And I'm happy that the President decided to ensure that the Chief Executive himself, he made him a Major General so that he will have that gravitas to be able to do what he has to do and as he goes around doing his work. And I will encourage that the Commission members themselves and all the others are given the needed support, both logistical and financial resources, to be able to do their work and do their work well. And I call the people of Ghana to support them. It's important for the people of Ghana to have a buy-in into what they are doing so that they can support them. Give them information. Give them support in the communities along the border. Like she said, you cannot have a situation where Ghana security agencies or border line or officers will not be able to know who comes into Ghana, who goes out of Ghana at any time, because it's a security issue. So it is true that you may farm across the Togo side, you may farm across the Ivory Coast side, or you may farm across the Burkina side, but you should expect that when you cross into the Togo side to farm and you are coming, and the security agencies suspect something, they have the right to ask you questions. But if you say no, because I'm just a farmer, they should not ask me questions, you may be very surprised what criminals may use people for, ultimately, if we open the floodgates like that. So I want to urge the people of Ghana to give them that support. If they give them that support and give the security agencies that support, they don't mean harm. It is for our own good. From 10, when we begin to sleep to the next morning, 5, 6, when we are out doing our work, there are other people who are working. And so they do not mean harm. We should give them the benefit of the doubt so that we'll see what we want to do. But I want to commend the Minister for the statement and commend the Ghana Boundary Commission for all the good work that they have done. And that as a nation, we should support them. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, I think we have to take the last contributors, one here, and then, yes, the other here, and I'll allow the minister to wind up. Yes, please.
Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity, let me begin by thanking the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the MP for Damongo, for this very important statement. On the occasion of the 2024 African Border Day. Speaker, let me humbly submit that we should be celebrating a borderless Africa. That should be really what we should be celebrating. Mr. Speaker, and that is so important. And I'm happy that in the Minister's statement, in the concluding statement, he quoted the African of the Millennium, or Sajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who stated that Africa is one continent, one people, and one nation. Let me add, he stated that Africa should unite or we perish. And Mr. Speaker, let me say that we have perished. I was reading a report this morning, and it's become a function in the last 2 years that every tiny country just will call African heads of state and summon them. The last one that just did it was Korea, tiny Korea. Invited all African heads of states. We want line us up with tiny cup in hand as beggars. Mr. Speaker, as we discuss these artificial borders that have been created by colonialism, we must state clearly that there must emerge new generation of Africans who will accept that the only way that we develop is to forge ahead and destroy the artificial barriers and create a United States of Africa. Until that happens, we will continue to give speeches. The Speaker, it is critical. It is critical. The Speaker, I just returned from the ECOWAS meeting, and it becomes very clear when you meet, even in West Africa, where we are all speaking different languages, that has been vested on us by our colonial masters. The French will speak, the Portuguese will speak, the English will speak, and somehow in the end, we'll be fighting over things that should be easy. And we'll spend days talking about things that, quite frankly, will not strengthen the African. And so we ask the question, exactly what are we doing to break these artificial barriers and to make sure that the critical things that will empower the 1.3 billion Africans. Every African country today, Mr. Speaker, is importing almost everything that we eat and drink. We are not adding value to the things that we have comparative advantage. We are not even discussing the things that will make us rich, empower our people. And so even as we discuss this important issue of our borders, we must first establish that we must work towards dismantling these artificial colonial borders critically. And until we do that, we are not going anywhere. So, Speaker, but let me say that the Boundary Commission is very important. So, Speaker, our recent experience in the dispute with Côte d'Ivoire was clearly a test case and showed how important the Ghana Boundary Commission was. It also became clear that the Boundary Commission was basically neglected. And so when that dispute came, it was clear that the lesson we must learn from that dispute, a dispute that almost cost Ghana $10 billion in oil on the ground. It told us clearly that we must strengthen the Boundary Commission and make sure that we address all our issues with the neighbors we have, whether it's Côte d'Ivoire, whether it's Togo, whether it's Nigeria. And the lesson we also learned in that dispute was that those boundary communities must own our boundaries. Because the only reason we won that case was because of the small communities in the Jomoro district, who really had the history of their ancestors and how over the years they have become, they are Ghanaians. And they had been Ghanaians for over 100 years. And it was their testimony that won the day in court. It is clearly a lesson that we should empower boundary communities, strengthen them and support them to basically address all the issues there. And so I'm very happy that the maker of the statement brought that point. He also talked about education, even as we discussed this. And I think that is important because as we talk about education, we talk about future generations. And so it's very critical that even as we deal with these boundary issues, we empower our future generations to understand the importance of these boundaries and how we can work together as communities. Mr. Speaker, I've made this point, but I make it again. Exactly how are we funding the Ghana Boundary Commission? I know that our own national budget, the budgeting for the Boundary Commission is not there. We had the GMPC supporting them, and it has always been a problem. I think on the occasion like this, we must all emphasize and agree that if we agree that their work is important, then the issue of funding must come in handy. The Speaker, this issue of boundaries, especially with Togo and Nigeria and others, is not something we do when we have crisis. We must work on this, even times when we don't have crisis. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, on a day like this, we must accept that we work collectively as a country with our neighbors to address all the systemic problems, the ethnic problems, so that there will not arise all those disputes that the Boundary Commission has been working on. So I want to thank the maker of the statement and to say that we must work towards a united Africa which has no boundaries that has been created by colonial masters. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, let me start off by commending you highly for admitting this very important statement, and also the minister. It's become a ritual of him, often presenting commemorative statements, but this is so important, and it has proven to be an extremely important statement. Speaker, to start with, it's a fact that the Boundary Act was passed in 2010 as Act 795, but the Nanado's administration really supported it, in birthing it, giving it flesh and light. So, if it is a case of commendation, then it should not be lost on us that was done. To start with, we set it up, we gave it the necessary oxygen for it to be where it is now. Speaker, I think the Popular International case, the Itlos case, after the Itlos case, clearly the Boundary Commission in our country, the narrative started to change, i.e. land boundary or maritime. All the narrative I've read appears to be focusing on maritime boundary, the activities together, Ghana maritime boundary, together with the Ghana Navy, all the activities that they've engaged in appears to be focusing on maritime boundary, which for me it's not good enough. But if you pry further, you realize that on the 15th of May 2024, this year, the Ghana maritime boundary engaged in an extensive activity in the Bongo, specifically a community called Namu in the Bongo district. And as part of their mandates, as part of the mandate of the Boundary Commission, engagement of communities to avoid conflict and also to build their or educate them on their role and the essence of we paying attention on boundary matters. The Boundary Commission engaged in it extensively, and that for me is giving confirmation to what the Minister of Defense said, that the Boundary Commission is doing a lot. However, they seem to be working in darkness. It appears they are working in darkness. And I think that Parliament has the powers to engage them more effectively. And again, Minister says that the Minister should ensure they get more funding. Again, it's in the hands of Parliament. We approve the budget. It is not in the hands of the Minister. It is Parliament that will decide the kind of funding that should be released to them. As we got, maybe in conclusion at the outset, I will seek your kind indulgence. Maybe you give some consequential referral. That there should be further engagement on this same subject matter. It cannot be the case that we talk, we purgate motions, we lament, and then we go and sleep. The committee responsible should follow through on this matter and engage the Boundary Commission for us to come to some finality, i.e. funding and also the activities of the Boundary Commission. So now let me take it a bit in context of the African continent. Boundary commissions work and the exchanges here and there, one fundamental matter that stands is transboundary resource management. And so the ITLOS case has taught us a lesson. Elsewhere, I think there's a popular international law case, the Transmatter case between the USA and Canada. Based on international commissions, conventions and exchanges that they have, the US of A and Canada were able to manage their transboundary resources, so it's just an admirable feature and has become a very important model in international law. If you go to Uganda, Tanzania, Egypt, the Nile has become a source of conflict, all because of management. And probably Africa should be looking at how transboundary resources can be managed effectively to the mutual benefit of the continent. So, I cannot help it but to commend the minister and to say that let this narrative and conversation go on into the night. We should talk about it. And I'm happy and proud that President Kufuor set up the Ghana Boundary Commission. We should give them more resources, but it is in the hands of Parliament. We can determine the extent of resources that should be given to the Boundary Commission and also to ensure we execute it. More often than not, we don't talk about these matters. We don't find it as bread and butter issues, poverty reduction issues, and though we push it to the back burner. I think it's important now that we get an appropriate committee to engage the ministry, to engage the Boundary Commission, and give it the necessary oxygen in prosecuting its agenda. After all, they've shown to us that they can do it. Given all the resources and given the mandate, they will be able to do it. And Speaker, I can only commend you for admitting this statement and to say that we shouldn't let the conversation end now. Let's keep it up to ensure that we get to where we all desirous of seeing the Boundary Commission. Speaker, thank you.
Yes, Minister. Oh, sorry. You want to have a bite? Okay, 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm only coming to commend the minister and commend your good self.
Oh.
By leading us to pass the Ghana Boundary Commission Act in 2010 as a majority leader. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I must commend you. Mr. Speaker, if there is anything that this House must be commended on, and I think the passage of the Ghana Boundary Commission is one of such things. Mr. Speaker, in 2010, when the issue of Ghana-Ivory Coast dispute was emerging, that time, me as a young legislator, I saw a closed sitting for the first time. And all those doors were locked. Everything was done. And we didn't know what we were doing. That we cannot knowing after 126 years of the Berlin Conference of 1884-1885, Ghana did not have such an act. And therefore, when the Ivorians were bringing their troops to the border, your good self as the leader of this House and the then President of the Republic of Ghana, the late Professor Mills, thought it wise that no, Ghana must not go the military way. We must go the legal way. And that is why these doors were locked. The House was called into an emergency closed sitting. And within 1 day, the Ghana Boundary Commission Act was passed under certificate of urgency. Mr. Speaker, led by your good self. And I think we, the young legislators, must take a cue from that. Mr. Speaker, going forward, I was also happy when the transition took place in 2016 and the new Patriotic Party took over. Mr. Speaker, one good thing that they did was to make sure that the then former Attorney General, that's Honorable Maretta Okon Apia, was not left out.
she was allowed to continue with her colleague, the Honorable Gloria Akufu. Mr. Speaker, I think as legislators we must take a cue from that. When they continued and transitioned very so fruitfully, this country was able to become or emerge victorious with the litigation. And it was as a result of the fruit and the effort of the Ghana Boundary Commission. Mr. Speaker, so I think, judging from all the contribution and the calls that honorable colleagues have made, that the Boundary Commission must be resourced, Mr. Speaker, is a call in the right direction. But Mr. Speaker, the act was passed under certificate of urgency, and it was on that note that I was getting to speak just more. Mr. Speaker, something you did under certificate of urgency, there is a need to go and revisit that act. All those calls that are being made, the act must be strengthened to make sure that the Ghana Boundary Commission is well resourced. But Mr. Speaker, it should not be only under the duty of the Minister of Lands and Natural Resource Minister. The Minister for Local Government and Rural Development must be brought on board. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you go around the 261 districts, everywhere there's a border dispute internally. The Minister for Chieftaincy must also be brought on board. Mr. Speaker, chieftaincy dispute is the worst. So we should not always be looking at our external borders. We must look within. Even from the Ministers for Lands and Forestry own backyard. As I speak, I share boundary with the Savannah region, the Brifos and the Gonyes. Recently, cars are being bent. And we must not just look at it as if it's a small issue. It can escalate into my constituency. That's why this was the second reason why I wanted to talk. So, the local government minister, the chieftaincy minister, chieftaincy and religious minister, the lands and forestry minister, and the minister for foreign affairs, there must be 4 interministerial committees which must be formed to assist, led by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, so that our internal and external borders will be carefully looked at. Other than that, somebody becomes a chief. So my grandfathers used to possess that land, therefore I'm going to claim ownership in this day and time. Then all of a sudden, then there's a border conflict. So, and when we are also creating or demarcating district assembly borders, we've created a lot of districts, and we are not sure of where the borders are. In this day and time, where we are in a digital era, it was those days that they used to throw a stone to share borders. But in this day and time, if you ask your colleague, where is our border, they say, oh, that stream. He himself doesn't know. That mountain, he himself doesn't know. That river, he himself doesn't know. So there need to be a careful investment in the Ghana Boundary Commission so that we can be able to secure our external and internal borders. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I share boundary with Cote d'Ivoire. There are a lot of man-tribesmen when you cross the border. And Mr. Speaker, whenever I go there, I'm like a chief. And that is with Ivory Coast. Yes. You see, there are no borders at all. They see me as one of them because we speak the same language. Mr. Speaker, when we went to Switzerland, the MP from man other side, Ivory Coast, who was speaking the same language. And Mr. Speaker, you see how they were hailing me. So clearly, in conclusion, if you go to the north, the Moses, some are in Ghana, some are in Burkina. If you go to the east, the Evers, some are in Ghana, some are in Togo. So, Mr. Speaker, we must deepen this kind of brotherhood in selecting diplomats to represent the country in those neighboring countries. The president, it will not be wrong when you choose a Botarian to be the Ghana ambassador in Togo. It will not be wrong when you choose a Mosi to be the Ghana ambassador in Burkina. It will not be wrong when you choose a Bana or a Plano to be the Ghana ambassador, or a Bruno to be the Ghana ambassador in Cote d'Ivoire, because we speak the same language. There's even a Bruno paramount chief in Cote d'Ivoire. When I went to the palace, I was like a king. In serving to the same. So we are not different. The boundaries are in our minds. The artificial barriers that you see do no longer exist. But when you still insist
that there's a boundary. Even when you are not impeded, you think that there's a boundary. This is not what is happening in the Europe. When you are moving from Switzerland to France, Mr. Speaker, there's no military man, no security, no border guard guarding the border. It is just digitized. You just pass and you go. There's nobody even standing there. So why is it that in our part you have to send ammo cars, send military men, send everybody using guns in this day and time? Mr. Speaker, there's more to be done. But I still want to end by commending you by leading this house in a visionary way, that after 126 years, my brother and colleague was talking that the Nana Akufo-Addo set up a commission based on what authority? Under the authority of the law that was passed with the Speaker as the leader of the House by the NDC government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, let me begin by thanking my senior colleagues for their very insightful contributions to the statement that I made. And Mr. Speaker, I want to assure you and the House that I've taken copious notes, and we will be acting on them, and we will make sure that the recommendations, suggestions which have been made will be brought on board. Mr. Speaker, I also made a note that I was going to make this point which the Deputy Majority Chief Whip, the Majority Chief Whip has made, and which is that, Mr. Speaker, I want to associate with the observation and comment he made about the passage of the law, the Ghana Boundaries Commission law in 2010. Mr. Speaker, those who were involved in the ITLOS Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire disputations and the proceedings which took place before ITLOS, that law, that 2010 law, played such a critical role in Ghana becoming victorious in that disputation. But for the passage of that law in 2010 under President Mills with Speaker as the majority leader, I think Ghana would have been naked at the time when this dispute arose. And it's also a fact that the establishment of the Commission and the strengthening of the Commission in its capacity, as well as, Mr. Speaker, the decision to ensure that the Attorney General of the time, the Honourable Marita Opon-Brew, joined the team that worked on it under Attorney General Gloria Akufu, was such a good decision. Mr. Speaker, you recall that the President of the Republic, President Akufo-Addo, even had an occasion to have a ceremony to confer honors on the team, which included the former Attorney General and the current Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, all of these, I believe, are geared towards the promotion of Ghanaian interests. Mr. Speaker, one or two clarifications. The first clarification, Mr. Speaker, the establishment of a United States of Africa, where there are no boundaries or there are no borders, with the greatest of respect, does not fall under the mandate of the Ghana Boundaries Commission. I think it's absolutely important that I put that on record. So, Speaker, that is the work of political leaders, African political leaders. The Ghana Boundary Commission has no authority to decree that henceforth there should be no boundaries, there should be no borders. No. And neither is it, Mr. Speaker, neither does it fall within the permit or the remit of the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. That is a decision that has been taken by the African Union, that henceforth there should be no borders, there should be no boundaries. There's the United States of Africa, as there is the United States of America. Just because I think that is important. The second clarification I want to make, Mr. Speaker, is that the Ghana Boundaries Commission does not create borders or boundaries. They don't. They work with their counterpart Boundaries Commission, our neighbors, to establish or to affirm or confirm existing borders and boundaries, which in many cases may have been established some 100, 200 years ago. So I think these 2 points have to be made clearly. Mr. Speaker, the establishment of these borders or the affirmation of these boundaries is important, which is why I quoted President Nkrumah. It's important for African unity, African cohesion, and African solidarity. Because, Mr. Speaker, one can imagine if the disputation between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire had degenerated into violence or degenerated into disputation between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. It is because the Ghana Boundaries Commission worked with their counterparts in Cote d'Ivoire, which is why we're able to end up in ITLOS and have a civilized way of resolving the dispute between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. This was not too long ago. I was a member of a delegation led by the president to Togo to try and resolve a maritime boundary dispute between Ghana and Togo because of the establishment of petrochemical resources between Ghana and Togo. And it took us a great deal of time and resources to be able to resolve it. Thankfully, it's been resolved. And so, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that we put the test and also that, Mr. Speaker, we have taken the contributions on board. But I'm happy to report to the House, Mr. Speaker, that the point that the Chief Whip made about the need to strengthen the bill which was passed in 2010. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there's a new bill before this House. I've laid a new bill before this House which seeks to review the 2010 bill, which seeks to bring the bill up to speed and make it fit temporary purposes. And all of those are being done. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it's also important for me to report to the House that the board of the Ghana Boundaries Commission has the Minister of Foreign Affairs on it, he has the Minister for Defense on it, he has the Minister for Local Government on it, he has the Minister for Chieftaincy on it. And so they've always been, and this was really the work that was done by Speaker and Co. in 2010. The board that was stipulated in that bill indicated that all these ministers should serve on the board because of the recognition of the cross-sectorial mandate of the work of the Ghana Boundary Commission. So, Speaker, I want to conclude by thanking this House and saying that we need to work together to ensure that the Ghana Boundaries Commission is well-resourced, that they have the capacity, and that they are capable of working to safeguard the boundaries of Ghana, thereby protecting the territorial integrity and sovereignty of our country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank this House. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, before I make a few directives, it's important to clarify some issues that you raised. One, admitted statements are made available to members by the clerk of Parliament, not leaders. You read the standing orders, Order 93 is very clear on that. It's admitted statements. And so if you are looking for a copy of an admitted statement, you see the clerk to Parliament, not the leaders. 2, comments made on statements should not take more than 5 minutes. I've been generous because we don't seem to have much work today. But please, when you are trying to conceptualize your comments, try to do it within 5 minutes. I, as a former member of Parliament, presided over a border constituency, and that is with Burkina Faso. Becoming a speaker, I am the development chief of 3 traditional areas. One of my constituents, Honorable Emmanuel Bejira, just spoke, because I'm the development chief there in his traditional area, Awudome. I am a development chief, and that means that I share border with Togo as a development chief. Now, I'm a development chief of Suma, Ahinkro traditional area. And I share border with what? Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire. And I'm a development chief of Tako traditional area. And I share border with what? Burkina Faso. So I'm a living experience of some of these things you are talking about. But Africa, I don't think we know what we want. We condemned the Berlin Conference and said what they did was bad, it's wrong. We reject it. Yet, we adopted it and we are fortifying it. That's what we're doing. And so we are creating more challenges and problems, more constraints for ourselves. So we talk about language barrier, we talk about boundaries barriers, and these are all self-inflicted. The commission that we created is to help us do what the minister tried stating in conclusion. As at now, Mr. Minister, the borders are really barriers. What the commission is to do is to assist us change them into what? Bridges. But as of now, they are barriers. That's why we have boundary barriers and language barriers. The language is a decision of us taking it, learning it, and there will not be barriers again. Being multilingual, that is all. But we are not prepared to invest in that area. And I want to talk to my senior brother, Honorable Dr. Kweku Afriye. Honorable Dr. Kweku Afriye, please listen to your father. What your father said is right. Then and today. What happened in the bond of 1844 is leadership that was taken away. And our chiefs gave that leadership to our colonizers. Now, our colonizers during the course produced some people who then came to assist us to fight. Because after they even signed the bond, they kept on fighting. But they didn't know that these colonizers were going to turn them into slaves. So they kept on fighting. I realized the Cape Coast chief, whose father is one of the signatories, he fought and he was deported. And he was outside for 2 years. When he came and tried to get his other chiefs to continue to fight, and they disappointed him, he committed suicide. So when we fought and took over that power of leadership, it should have gone back to the leaders, who were then the chiefs. But we gave it to their products, who didn't know the area, the language, the people, the culture, the traditions. And those products were produced from various countries. Korenkura was produced from America. JB Dankwa was produced from Great Britain. Different products, small differences, they couldn't settle it. Big English. And this is why we are in this state of confusion. That is it. And that's why I was telling my friends from Nzima that they migrated from the Inzi River in Côte d'Ivoire. Many of them didn't even know. That's where the name Nzima came from. So that is where we are now, in a very confused state. Yes, Africa is one continent, but for one people, I beg to differ, we are not. One nation, we are not. And until we work towards that, we'll continue to be slaves and slave for people. These are things that we have to face. And I agree with you that this is a very important topic. And I would direct that leadership should, as early as possible, arrange a meeting of the Committee of the Whole, of the Commission, so that the Commission can give us a deeper brief as to the situation on the ground. Based on that, the House will then take it on, and if there's more work to be done, we will work together with the Commission, and we then see the need to give more resources to support them to do a more detailed work to solve all the problems. I was in my other country, Cote d'Ivoire, recently. And I met my colleague, the speaker. Fortunately, he understood English, at least better than my understanding of French. I understand some French, but not too good. But at least, je parle bien de français. You know, so we were able to communicate. But there was a barrier. There was all the big language these we use. We needed translators. And we were all not happy. This challenge between Nkrumah and Ofe started long ago, and we can see the difference. They challenged each other. Nkrumah said, I'll go socialism. Felix said, no, I'll go capitalism. That's why you see the difference in development. Even though they have a larger land, their population is smaller than with the smaller land. Even though we have more resources than them, they've overtaken us now, even in the production of cashew. Cashew, they've overtaken us. Cocoa, they've overtaken us. Cassava, they've overtaken us. Everything. All. Yet, in governance, I think we are ahead of them. Good governance. And so, we need to work together. We don't need to have these barriers, self-imposed barriers. In fact, even Cocoa Board, that system of Cocoa Board was established by the British to stabilize the British pound after World War II, so that they sold it at higher price and gave us lower monies and used the balance to stabilize the pound. That is the same concept we are continuing and cheating the cocoa farmers. That's why we are collapsing. This one needs leadership to change. You are the leaders now. You must get this understanding. But you are all foreign products. That's your problem. You don't know your identity. You don't know where you come from. You don't even know this history. So how can you lead Africa to salvage itself from the claws of colonialism? That is the problem. And I'm shocked that our history has been so relegated. Our educational system don't emphasize these things. And if you don't know where you come from, how do you know where you are or where you are going? It's sad. So education, I agree, as stated. That is the key to liberation. Not what we are doing about political parties, which we don't even understand. If you ask people what is a political party, can they give you the definition? No. So we need to take our time to go these things in detail, particularly taking them more serious than we are doing. Why do we need armies? Ghana, we have our armed forces. And Ghana's armed forces, I'm sorry I'm saying this, your star is, you are up to General Star what? 3. Togo are up to what? 4. And Ghana General, the highest beating Togo General, will have to salute. I lie. Me, I not lied before. You know, these are things that we should take serious. And particularly in today's world, where there's so much insecurity, these are critical matters that we must invest in. And I think that is an important issue. As I said, leadership, please take it up, and let's, as soon as possible, have a committee of the whole on this. We'll share more information, and together we can support the commission. When we are passing even the law, we can factor all these things in, because as a living witness, I know how I'm struggling to develop the 3 traditional areas. I now want to go and develop a community under my kingdom, and you tell me it's in Cote d'Ivoire. Meanwhile, we don't speak English or French when we are communicating. The people living in the same area, the same tribe, they don't speak English or French. They speak the same languages. Then you Ghanaians, you say that you want Ghanaians living everywhere to participate in what is happening in the country, in your voting. No, so. Meanwhile, in the implementation, when it's time to voting, you say that some people are from somewhere. They can't come in to vote. But you want those in America to come in to vote. But those just by the border there, they say you are not a Ghanaian, you can't come in to vote. Meanwhile, your mother is in Ghana. Your father is living in Cote d'Ivoire. You are not a Ghanaian. I don't understand Ghanaians at all. I don't. When you think of implementing ROPA, you are thinking of people from Britain coming. But you don't think of people from Burkina. Oh, Mobo. Honorable members, with this, I'll call on the second deputy speaker to take the chair. I have to rush to attend to other responsibilities. Because we have a statement, very important statement to make, but I hope that, leader, you will take up the issue of the committee of the whole. And I will listen to you. You were trying to say something. Yes, please.
Speaker, if you may indulge me, we are grateful for your directives. Speaker, I know the finance minister is a member of parliament, and so committee of the whole is expected to be packed. But I want to suggest, if it pleases you, that as part of the directives, it should be made mandatory that the finance minister should sit in the engagement that leadership is going to organize together with the Boundary Commission. It should be, as a matter of importance, sit in that committee of the whole.
Yes, please.
Speaker, since contributions were mentioned, resources, I think it's a worthy call. Your directive must be complied, and the minister as a member and as a minister must also be present. So that you appreciate the contributions.
I thought the process should start first with the House. I know the public sector very well. Let's listen to the commission without their bosses looking over their shoulders, so they can talk properly to us. We have the power over the ministers. Then we can call the ministers later on to dilate with them. But this one is for the commission to give us a brief and to give you opportunity to express yourselves. When you bring the Minister of Finance in and people are talking, they will talk about issues, maybe the money is not there, then they are looking at the, no. When we now assess the problem well, you know by our constitution, we can't increase budget allocations. We can only do what? Reduce. But when we are able to get our ministers, before they even submit the budget, to accept our proposal, then that becomes what has been placed before the House. You are not increasing again. You've agreed on it. And that is why the Budget Act, we have to pass it as soon as possible, because that gives us early entry into the budget process before the formal presentation of the budget. So I think that is what should be done. So we don't need to bring them in now. Let's get the commission to come and give us a free, unhindered brief. And then later on, we can get in touch with the ministers. I thank you so much for your understanding. Second deputy speaker to take the chair.
This is the second. Yes, honorable member.
Speaker, shall we take item 7?
But
7A.
Honorable leader, before we get to 7A, we have another statement which has been duly admitted by the speaker. So let me invite Honorable Dr. Festus Kofi, Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, to make a statement in commemoration of 2024 World Day Against Child Labor.
We are not challenging your decision. It is a very popular decision amongst us that we want to rather vary other business and lay these papers, after which we will revert to the statements. So you are with your indulgence.
Leader, I will do whatever you want me to do, but the minister wants to attend a meeting. So if we can allow him to make the statement.
We have engaged him and he has complied. We've engaged him and he has complied. Is that we have engaged him and he has understood. So, we will start off with item 7A. 7A, as we are laying I to V. Let me further seek your leave. Further seek your leave to do it in whole.
Honorable, which page are we?
We are item 7A on page 2, and taking I to V. So I seek your leave to do that for on behalf of the Leader of the House.
Very well. So, honorable members, let me invite you to page 2, item 7A, presentation of papers by Majority Leader.
Management reports of the Office of the Auditor General for the year ended 31st December 2018 to 2021. Annual report.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented. It is referred to the Public Accounts Committee for consideration and report. II.
Annual report and financial statements of the Office of the Auditor General for the year 2018. Annual report and financial statements of the Office of the Auditor General for the year 2019. Annual report and financial statements of the Office of the Auditor General for the year 2020. Annual report and financial statements of the Office of the Auditor General for the year 2021.
Honorable members, the report IV have been duly presented. They are referred to Public Accounts for consideration and report. Are you taking the B?
No, Speaker. Speaker, we are rather moving on to page 13.
Page 13.
13, yes. And we take it item 8B, B for Bell. And Speaker, I seek your leave for it to be done by the Deputy Minister instead.
Is this civil aviation way? We are, as what, first reading into a very family transport. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are engaged in an absolute illegality. The conduct of business in this House is guided by the Constitution and the standing orders. And I rise on Standing Order 64, which says, among others, for business to be transacted in this House, you should have at least 1/3 of members of Parliament in situ. We don't have that. So whatever we do in this House going forward is illegal and must not be tolerated. This House is the bastion of democracy. And Mr. Speaker, you cannot talk of democracy without Parliament. So what we are engaged in here is illegal, and I expect you as the Speaker to ensure that we don't continue with this illegality.
Well. So you are raising column matter. Let me, I table, let me ask you to ring the bell so that we use the 10 minutes to see if members will come from their offices. But meanwhile, let's move on.
So after that, we should proceed to page 3.
No, you've raised your issue. The process is that we should ring the bell. So I've directed that the bell be rang.
Speaker, page 3. Page 3, item 7C. 7C. And Speaker, we are
What about page 13?
We have
page 13.
I thought he has done it. It's finished.
No, we haven't. Yes, page 13. Honorable members, page 13, item 8. B.
Yes.
By the Minister for Transport.
An act to review and consolidate the laws relating to civil aviation, establish the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority to regulate aviation safety and security, and provide for related matters.
Honorable members, the bill has been laid. It is referred to the Committee for Transport, Roads and Transport for consideration and report.
Speaker, now page 3, item 7CI, exclusive CI. As you guys seek your leave for it to be done by the Minister of Defense.
Yes. Minister for Lands and Minister for Defense, yes.
Mining lease agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and Ghana Bauxite Company.
Honorable members, the report has been duly presented. They are for distribution to honorable members. What? Is it? No. Very well. So, honorable members, this is an agreement. So, we refer it to Committee on Lands and Forestry. Now, it's Committee for Lands and Natural Resources for consideration and report. Committee for Lands and Natural Resources. Honorable members, the new committee is Lands and Natural Resources. right? Now they've shifted mines to natural resources. So now you don't have committee for lands and forestry. You have committee for lands and natural resources. So that is where this referral is being made to. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I know the technical bench wanted you to be on the safer land. And that is why they are guiding it. So we must take a cue from that.
But I hope we are using the new committees.
Yes, the new committee.
So if it is the new committees, I know what I'm talking about. It is
yet to be constituted.
It is the Committee for Lands and Natural Resources. Yes, leader.
Speaker, having regard to the time and also the fact that we've been able to successfully prosecuted all businesses as arranged, may I move this August House to adjourn to tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Speaker, I so move.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the motion is ably seconded by me.
Honourable members, before I'll put the question, I want to, honourable member, tomorrow we take your statement. The motion has been moved. Already somebody is there raising the issue of quorum. But honourable members, before I put the question, Committee on Selection, you are supposed to meet with the Speaker at his office immediately after adjournment. Committee on Selection. So all those in favor of the motion that the House adjourn to tomorrow 10 o'clock in the forenoon, say aye. All those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and now the House is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House stands adjourned.